Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all for the Using Tally Beyond Accounting and Assurance. As we all use more of Tally, but advanced functions linking to the financials, majority of the usages we are not using it. To enlighten on that, we have eminent speakers. Is none other than our CA, Mr. A.Rafeq, and Vice President of Tally, Mr. Pugal. May I request our chairman to escort both the speakers on the dais and welcome with floral bouquet. Welcome you once again, sir. I take this opportunity to introduce the speaker. A.Rafeq passed his CA final exam in 1985 and CSA exam in June 1995. His special expertise is in the areas of IT assurance using COVID and data analytics using CAD software. He has experience of nearly 30 years in varied roles such as CFO, CIO, IT implementer, IT consultant, IT auditor, software architect and COVID trainer. Rafeq was one of the senior most faculties of DISA course of ICAI. He has contributed in designing and developing updated DISA 2 course of ICAI. He has conducted more than 300 days of training on IT audit, COVID and CAD for both public and private enterprises. He has made presentations at international conference, workshops in more than 15 countries. Rafeq is currently the Managing Director of Wincer, Infotech Limited, which specializes in developing data analytics solutions for auditors and BI tools for management. With this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir. And our another speaker, Mr. Pugal T, is the Associated Vice President at Tally Solutions Private Limited. He is 36 years of wide-ranging experience in the field of accounts, finance, taxation, compliance and training. He has handled audit functions for over 10 years, covering spectrum of business in trading, manufacturing, hospitality, professional service, entertainment and non-profit organization. When VAT was introduced in the year of 2005, he was heading the functional team in R&D for VAT module in Tally. Prior to Tally, Pugal over the years has successfully represented clients on sales tax and income tax cases and assessment. His manual accounting and finalization was course 10. His formal qualification is BCom from Bangalore University, intermediate level in ICAI and business management from AIBM, Chennai. With this brief introduction, I welcome you, sir. Over to the speakers.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am delighted to be here once again. Probably in the last 20 or 30 years, probably this is the 20th or 30th time. And every time I come on the stage, for me, the challenge always is I should have grown a little more compared to the last presentation. Probably, let's say, I made the last presentation last year. And by the time I come for this presentation, I should have grown in my knowledge and skills, and I should be able to share that with you. And that's my passion. Information technology has been my obsession and a passion right from the time I started studying from a CA when we had this SADP subject. And the first job which I worked, I had to implement computerization, and that got me hooked on to computers. And one of the first accounting software which I used was Tally. During my articleship, I remember I spent a lot of time in actually tallying the books of accounts. We used to prepare trial balance, the trial balance would not tally, and then you have to go back to verifying the opening balance, verifying the totaling, verifying postings, and then once the trial balance was tallied, that is a big achievement. And then I also used various accounting packages. At that time we had MunimG and so many others. And most of them did not have the ease of use and the simplicity of Tally. And the first time I used Tally, I got hooked onto it and I fell in love with it. And what I found during the years when I used Tally, I also worked in Tally for about 20 months or so, about 1 decade back, especially to help in implementing automated solutions and compliances in Tally. What I found is most of the CAs hardly use about 10% of the features which are available in Tally. There are a lot of things which are hidden gems in Tally, but most of us have a perception that Tally can do this solely. Okay. So what we'd like to show and demonstrate here is Tally goes beyond accounting. You can do much more than accounting in Tally. In accounting also there are a lot of things which are possible. Okay, we had a lot of interaction with Pugal. So initially this presentation was supposed to be made by me. Then I thought why not get the guru of gurus from Tally, and that's why we got in Pugal, and he agreed. I thought it would be an excellent idea to actually get the best expertise, especially from Tally, to demonstrate to you as to what is possible in Tally. Now, need to remember that we are not here marketing Tally. We want to use Tally as a tool, and that's why I want to show that Tally is an automated tool for accounting, inventory, payroll, compliance, etc. You could be using any other software. Still the principles, the concept, the philosophy which we are sharing with you could be applied to any software. So I just wanted to look at it from this particular perspective. So one of the challenges which I had, especially when making this presentation, in fact today afternoon also we are sitting from 3 to 5 o'clock to sit and finalize what is that we want to cover. The problem was this particular presentation is supposed to be done as a one-day workshop. Now the challenge is how do we convert this in about 120 minutes, and finally we hope we should be able to accomplish that. And we also want to ensure that you get value from this presentation. Okay. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to take home with you at least 8 or 10 new ideas which you can apply. Bill Gates was once asked what is the secret of his success, and he said quite early in life, I learned how to learn, and that's what we want to show you. In Tally we show you certain features from a different perspective. Most of you I know would have been using Tally, and some of you may know many more features than what we know. But what we want you to look at is the perspective. Okay. How do you understand Tally? How do you use Tally? What is the perspective? That's what I wanted to look at. Okay, so if you can learn this, I think it becomes much more easier for you to use Tally or any other software. You can apply the same principles or concepts for any other software. With this brief introduction, let me get started. But before I get started, I just want to know how many of you are not using Tally? So this is a reverse question because I know most of my hands will go up. I just want to know, any of you is not using Tally? You're not using Tally? What software do you use?
I was using, but last 3 years.
Okay, currently what software are you using?
That is a hotel software. IDS.
IDS, okay.
Actually, I'm working in an investment bank.
Okay.
So I'm not using.
But what made you interested to come for this session?
Because I was in auditing field maybe 2 years back.
Okay.
I wanted to connect again with assurance and auditing and stuff like that.
Okay.
I thought maybe that would also be useful.
How many of you are DSAs? Okay. How many of you are undergoing the course, which means you attended my sessions? Okay. Good. So let's go ahead. So if you look at the topic itself, the title, we said using Tally beyond accounting to assurance. Most of us use accounting. Earlier, if you look at accounting, it's supposed to be the art of recording, classifying, and summarizing financial transactions for the purpose of interpreting the results thereof. So it was more of a bookkeeping. So you wanted to keep the books of accounts, you can maintain the books of accounts. In an automated solution, that's how Tally initially came in. And then after that, technology has evolved over the last 3 decades in a very big way. But still you see the interface of Tally which was there long back when we started 30 years back, still the interface is still there. Okay. So some of you might have perception this Windows evolved, graphical user interface, everything, where that in Tally. Tally also has its windows. Okay, but you should know where the windows are and how do you navigate inside the windows and what you can do. Okay, that's what we'll also like to show you. So if you look at the topic, the idea was beyond accounting to assurance. So we'll show you taking the same accounting features, how we can do assurance, and then we'll also show you some special features which are available in Tally which can be used for assurance. And the idea for this presentation came to me about 6 months back when I saw a presentation on Tally which was made about 3 years back. And when I saw the presentation, I was really impressed that there are so many features pertaining to assurance which are available in Tally, and most of CAs don't know about this. And I thought I should definitely educate CAs about this. And when I got the call from the chairman that we want a session on information technology, and that's where I gave him 3 topics and he selected this particular topic. And I also like this topic, so I thought this would be a good idea. So what are the learning objectives? The first is we want you to give a quick overview of what Tally is all about from the point of accounting and give a quick overview of the key features. I want you to see this from a different perspective. Okay, second thing is, we look at assurance. You know, in assurance, if you want to provide assurance, especially in an automated environment, you need to look at the automated controls. What is this concept of automated controls? How do you audit in an automated environment? And especially from a regulatory perspective, how do you review and evaluate controls in an automated environment? We'll cover the basic concepts. And then we'll get inside Tally. We'll look at Tally and look at what are the features which are available in Tally, especially from the point of assurance. And we'll also relate it to Tally, not only Tally, also from the point of data analytics. Okay, if you want to use CATs, what are the different types of CATs and how you can use Tally from a CAT perspective. Also, we'll give a quick demo of some of the features which are there in a data analytics software. And the last part will be some case studies where we'll take up some examples of, let us say, you are using Tally and you want to do a tax audit or a VAT audit or a statutory audit or any type of an audit. How can you drill down, pick up the information which you want, filter the information, extract the information, analyze the information, and that's what we'd like to show you. So ideally, we would have liked it to be hands-on, but we know, considering the constraints of time, we can only show you. And here also I thought probably what we'd like to do is we'd like to restrict the speaking, especially from the point of concepts, to probably about 20 to 30% of the time, and we'd like to spend more time in showing you the features. And I suggest that when you look at the features, you find something new or interesting, please make a note of this. Go back and practice that, and that's how you internalize it. Otherwise, let's just see this and then later on you will forget. Okay, so when you see something new, ideally what you'd like, I said, I want you to see that you are able to pick up 8 or 10 new things. Okay, which are wow features. Yes, we didn't know that is possible. Okay. And then we'll also have questions at the end. If there is one message, one key lesson which I want you to take home at the end of the session, this is what I want you to look at. Okay, get insights on how data analytics can be used for providing better assurance with greater assurance. Now I've used this word assurance from 2 different perspectives. Provide better assurance to the clients with greater assurance inside. Yes, when you're signed, you know you can sleep peacefully. That's okay. To a major extent, if there is a peer review or somebody calls you also, you know that you've done done your job to the best of your ability. Okay, so that is what is called as the greater assurance. Okay. Otherwise, we also have a lot of auditors who do the assurance from a different perspective. We are looking at auditors who want to provide assurance, better assurance to the clients with a greater assurance. And we look at 3 key aspects. One is within Tally, what are the features which are available? Second, integrated with Tally, how we can use. And third, what are the concepts that can be applied beyond Tally? These are 3 perspectives we wanted to look at. And the fundamental objective is this particular ideas or principles which you apply, you can apply for any other automated solution. And this should help you to remain relevant and add value in whatever type of assignment you're doing. So what is most important, especially in the digital era, when most of the data is available electronically, is you should know how to access and analyze and evaluate this data which is available in a digital format. The manual approaches will not work in a digital environment. So you need to update your approach of audit. The objectives of audit still remain. How you audit, the approach of using the tool itself, the software itself for auditing, this is what you should be able to learn, and that's how we can remain relevant. There is a big gap between perception and reality. Now this is just for a sense of humor. Quite often there is a particular perception about chartered accountants or auditors, what the auditor is supposed to be. But we know, as auditors, we have knowledge and skills which goes beyond just managing the compliances, okay, or managing the filing the reports and then taking care of the response to the report. We have much more knowledge and skills. Probably, if I ask you to evaluate how much percentage of skills which you're using, which you already know, probably I would say it could be less than 20%. Okay, most of the skills are not really used. Most of the skills are a different type of skills. Okay, and the reason is we are not getting value addition assignments. The problem is this chicken egg theory. Okay, we want to get skilled if we get an assignment, and you get assignment only when you have the skills. So that's where you need to break this vicious circle and look at how can we value add. And IT is one such great opportunity which helps you to actually add value to the clients. It actually complements very well the domain expertise you have in compliances, finance, management, and assurance. So if I ask you what is the most important challenge faced by the auditors, can some of you tell me what is the most important challenge? As an auditor, what do you think is the challenge? What are your worries? 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, where are you going to be? Do you think there is an issue or challenge? Anyone would like to share some ideas? What do you think is the most important challenge for the auditors now?
To organize themselves is very difficult.
To organize?
To organize their firm takes time.
Okay, to organize a firm takes time. Okay, what else? Compliances?
Compliances may be relaxed, like tax audit.
So many of the compliances will become much more relaxed. Okay, you also find a lot of companies who are coming in with offering services on online automated environment. They are providing this called as service commerce. Okay, service as a commerce. You have heard of e-commerce, now you got service commerce. I'll come to that in the last slide. What is service commerce and how does it impact most of the work which you're doing? You don't know that it is going to hit you. It's like one person was asked, do you see what is written on the wall? He went for eye testing. And this guy said, where is the wall? So quite often we don't see the problems or issues which are right in front of us. One of the most important problems which I found is this eternal challenge between the auditor and the auditee. Okay, if you look at tax audit or any other compliance related audit, if the law makes it optional, you find the client will not come to you for audit. The reason is they don't find the value addition. They say what you're doing in most of the audit is also fault finding. That doesn't really add value addition. And this is the biggest challenge we need to resolve. And that can be done by enhancing the audit toolkit. So quite often I have seen most of the cases, the toolkit which is used by auditors belongs to the, what is that?
Auditee.
The Stone Age era. What toolkits we use for the purpose of audit. Now the audit data which was available to us in the form of records, files, registers, which was there earlier, now is no longer available in that format, it's available in electronic format. But we still tend to adopt the same methodology. So we still tend to use the same toolkits. And that's where there has to be a paradigm shift in the way we approach the subject of auditing. And this is what I thought is some questions which you can look at. How can I fish if you don't give me the tools? And the second question is, what good is the tool if I don't know how to use it? So you need to have the tools and you should also know how to use it. That is, how can I use it if I don't know what fish to catch and where the fish is? Now you replace the fish with information. Audit, they say, is the process of collecting and evaluating evidence as per the audit objectives. So primarily as an auditor, what will be the type of audit? You are reviewing the audit, you are reviewing the information and evaluating the information from the perspective how the information has been funneled into the final accounts. Second, from the perspective of whether the controls which are required to be there have been inbuilt into the system, whether the controls are available, adequate and appropriate, and they are working as envisaged. Most of the regulatory requirements now, if you look at the latest one, which is IFC, they are looking at not only looking at the financial statements in terms of the production of the result from the transactions, because the production of the financial statements, okay, the final accounts from the transactions is done by the software. What is more important is that you need to know what are the controls which are required in the way this information is organized, right from the time of initiation of the transaction to processing of the transactions, to the access of the transactions, storage of the transactions. Okay, that becomes a big challenge. And that's what many of the regulators are forcing the auditors to say, that you should not only look at the final statement, say that okay, final statement is true and correct, that is the only final product. You also need to look at the process which produces the final statements. And this we can do only when we have knowledge of how this information is being processed within the computer. They say information is the currency of the 21st century. And as we go on, we find more and more information is going to be available digitally. And many of the transactions you find, for example, let's say you have to pay a light bill, you have to pay a telephone bill, or you have to buy. Many of the transactions are going digital. Now the old age methodology we used to adopt, where we used to look at the transactions from the initiation to the final result, may not really apply. Because the transaction happens all within the system, electronically. So this is where it leads us to the concept of enterprise moving from the manual controls to the automated controls. The controls itself is getting automated. Long back when we studied auditing, we had this concept of maker-checker. We had this concept of segregation duties. So in a manual environment, earlier when you went to the store, you had one person who you will buy, okay, that person will give you a slip, You go and pay the cash in some other place, they'll give you a bill, and then you go to a third place to collect the particular thing. And again, when you exit, somebody will verify this. Okay, this was the segregation duties which was there earlier. Similarly, if you look at a bank, there are different types of segregation duties. Now, in a computerized environment, the whole thing changes. The need for segregation duty still remains. The need for control still remains. But the way it is implemented is completely different. So what we need to look at is, are our audit process techniques evolving to meet this challenge? This change from the manual controls to the automated controls. So the most critical success factor, especially to do an effective audit of automated controls, is knowing the why before the what. Okay, so you know what is to be done. Now that what has to be replaced, has to be updated. But if you know why you are doing it, then you have to rediscover the what. You have to redesign the what. You have to redefine what you are going to audit. Okay, that's what happens in an automated environment. The why still remains. Now, based on this analogy, now let's look at the next question. What is the most important skill set which is required by an auditor? What do you think? What is the most important in the current era and looking at 5 years, 10 years down the road? What do you think is the most fundamental skill set which is required for an auditor?
Staying up to date.
Staying up to date, okay. Then?
Analysis.
Analysis, okay. Then?
Never giving up. Never giving up.
Never giving up, okay. That's an attribute, quality we need to have, okay. From the point of skill sets of a CA, as a CA you are known for certain things. For example, a doctor, a general doctor is known for certain specific skills, which means if you fall sick, if you go for a general thing, he knows what is the medicine to be given. For general, most of the elements he will be able to prescribe. Although it's another factor that most of the case now they ask you to undergo a test, okay, for a different purpose. But the most fundamental skill set you need to have is especially the controls which are there in the automated environment. Most of the enterprises have moved into an automated environment. In that case, the need for controls becomes much more paramount compared to manual environment. Now, who is supposed to be a control expert? The auditor is supposed to be a control expert. Now, the question is, in manual era, auditor knew very well about what is the control, where the control has to be. Now, the same question you need to ask, in an automated environment, can the auditor be a control expert? How best can you evaluate the controls? So, if you can just update or fine-tune our skills in this particular context, then I think we'll still continue to remain relevant. Not only continue to remain relevant, we can definitely add value in a big way. Long back when I did my articleship, my boss gave me 2 or 3 pencils. I don't know whether you have heard of this. We had this red pencil, green pencil like that, no? And then you're supposed to tick, and the ticks were of a different type. Okay, so as an auditor, you always used to carry different types of pencils. Now, if you adopt the pencils, same pencil methodology now, and you look at the graphic there below, what do you think is going to happen? It's pushing a heavy load up the hill. It will not really produce result. So now, I wanted to take this insight that we now have large volumes of data, and most of the data is available in an automated environment. If that is the case, if you know how to use technology, we can definitely infer insight from this information. And this is one of the findings of productivity, where they said the CAT skills are the most primary skills which is required for the auditors to future-proof their career and to contribute value. So the key differentiator is CAT. What is CAT? Computer Assisted Audit Techniques. So it doesn't mean that you need to buy a special software. You can use even Excel as a computer assisted audit techniques. What we also want to show you for a major portion of today's presentation is probably more than 50% would like to show that even Tally itself can be used as a CAT tool. Probably this could come as a surprise for you. We want to show you how that is possible. Okay. These are some of the benefits of CAT software. I'll also make this slide available to you so that you can go through that in detail. I want to focus more on the practical aspects. So, looking at all the discussion we had so far, what does this all mean? What does it all add up to? So, what is the message which I want to convey so far?
We have to start using technology.
We have to use technology more, not from the mechanical perspective. You don't need to understand the engineering aspect of the technology. We need to understand the implementation or the user deployment of the particular technology. Just like if you look at a mobile, you don't know how the information is converted, what are video, audio, whatever you have, how are graphics, images, anything you have, how does it get transferred in the mobile and how the other person is seeing the call. You know how to press the few buttons and based on that you can do that particular thing. Technology also, to that extent, you should have the basic understanding. It also helps that you have a basic background of what are the key things which are there in that particular technology. For example, what is an operating system, what does the operating system do, what is the database, what is an application software, what are the key aspects of an application software. And look at it from the paradigm of your auditing. Okay, for auditing, if you look at assertions, if you look at controls, how these controls are embedded and how you can audit these particular controls. This is what you should know. So the key message after all this presentation is your mission or the audit objectives is always what you live and work for. Will continue to be there. But what has to change is the means, the methods and the mechanism. Or if you call it the methods, means and the mechanisms. They have to be modified and updated as required. At the end of this presentation, you go back. I wanted to look at the software which you are auditing. What will be the type of software you are auditing? I wanted to relocate it from a different perspective. Can I use the software itself for the purpose of audit? Can I extend it and then let's say use Excel for the purpose of audit? Can I use any other software audit tool itself for the purpose of audit? That's what I wanted to look at. And if you can learn this, then you find probably you can do a much more better audit in probably 1/3 or 1/4 of the time. But it will take time. It comes with practice. So what is most important in the case of the software, especially when we talk about automated software, whether from the point of accounting or assurances, knowing the logic, knowing how does it work. It said long back, let's say a few decades back, a British reporter went to Afghanistan and she found the men always used to be walking up and the ladies, whether the wife or children, everywhere, they always used to be 3 to 4 paces behind. And she made an observation, this is a retrograde society, they don't give respect to women, they always keep the women behind, the men will be always walking ahead, the women are always behind. 1 decade later, she came again to Afghanistan and then she was surprised to see that the women are ahead, whereas the child and the father were walking about 10 paces behind. She was really amazed and she wrote a report. I think although we criticize Afghan society, the Taliban, everybody, it seems the society has progressed. Now the men are allowing the women to take the lead. So she was discussing with the driver, the local driver. She said, I am really amazed to see this change. What happened? And this guy said, Madam, if I give you the logic, you may not like it, but I want to tell the facts. He said, the problem is the landmines. You got the point? So because of landmines, they want the ladies to go ahead in the front and they want to stay behind and be safe. Okay, quite often in technology, you need to know how you cannot just look at the result and assume that okay, everything is being processed correctly. You also need to know what the logic behind that. Okay, so this is the perspective from which I would like to start the presentation, where we get into the practical aspect, where we say, let's have a walkthrough of Tally for accounting in terms of the key features. Now this is said we are going to look at Tally from a different perspective. First thing, before we start, I thought we should give you this quote. The musical instrument used by let's say a flute. In the flute of the flute master, it gives melody. But if you don't know the skill, then it doesn't really give music. Similarly, any software, once you know how to use it, you can create miracles, you can create magic from that. Okay, but you should know how to use it. And you ask any master, they will say it takes time to master any skill. So it's not enough if you get interested and say yes, this is good, but you also need to spend time in practicing. Okay. With this brief introduction, what I thought is I will give a handover to my friend Pugal. He'll quickly walk you through, he'll open Tally, and I'll supplement as required. Okay. Pugal.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everybody. First, I'm sure except two of you, the rest of you have seen this gateway of Tally, the Tally screen, which is the home screen, and this is the company information screen, where basically you start selecting the company or create the company. Right? So now I select the company. So we first is okay. You select the company, and here you have this gateway of Tally here. The first thing in any session that I do for Tally is the first thing I'll make sure that all of you will learn two very important secrets of Tally. So what is that secret? Very, very important, where if you know this thing, it's a very simple thing. We did not have to memorize or anything. Right? So two important secret. The moment you know this two important secret, Tally will work like a slave for you, and you can do wonders with Tally. So the first secret is the button bar. So you see this sorry, you see this button bar, right, on the right hand side. Okay, the right hand side button bar, and in other screens you will also see button bar which will be at the bottom of the screen, and on the top you have this button bar which is basically a static bar. So that's not, once you see this you know that what are the operations that you can do with using those button bars. The right hand side and the, so let me just quickly just show this. Right, so you see this button bar on the right hand side, and you also see the button bar at the bottom of the screen. Right, so anything that you do, like whether you are in the master creation or whether you are in the report, whatever information that you want to see or whatever action that you want to do beyond what is being displayed on the screen here, first thing is that see that whether what you intend to do, whether that function or that activity you are able to recognize on the button bar. Right. So for example, now this is the payment screen. I think most of you know about it. Only thing is I am just trying to relate it. Now you have this payment screen. So now I want to pass a journal entry. So what do I do? F7. I press F7 and then it. Okay. So there are various classes being created. So now this is going to be my journal entry. Right. Now let us say I am in the balance sheet, and for some reason you want to go and see the stock summary, right? You just want to see the stock summary. So generally what would we do? Escape, come to gateway of tally, then go to stock summary and then view that, right? That's the normal thing that we do. Like Rafeq sir was mentioning that tally is also got the Windows capabilities. Right? So now I am in the balance sheet. Now I want to go to, see, because one thing that we need to, our design principle has been created in such a way that the user's train of thought should not be distracted. So you have some train of thought. Now you are viewing this particular balance sheet with some objective. Right? Now, because you are viewing this balance sheet and there is some other information that you are looking for from this particular screen, you would want to see that information in summary, right? So use the secret number 1, which is the button bar, or on the right hand side you have this 2 very powerful button, which is F9. I don't think you are able to see this. There is this F9 button, right? So which is the inventory report, and there is this F10 button which is the accounting report. Right, so which means basically you can quickly switch between accounting and inventory report from whichever report you are there. So I am in balance sheet now, I want to see stock summary. All I do is just press F9, then I just say stock summary, and I am into the stock summary now. So you are now viewing the stock summary. For some reason you want to see the cash balance or bank balance, which means now from inventory report you want to move to the accounting report. So you just press F10 and then you say cash and bank. So now you are in cash and bank. See, now probably we have lost. Where did we start? Where did we go, and where are we now? Right? So at the bottom of the screen, if you see here at the bottom of the screen, you have this navigation part. It says from tally main, which means basically from the gateway of tally. Right? So from tally main, from gateway of tally, you went into balance sheet, then you went into stock summary, and now you are in the cash and bank summary. Right? So now you have seen this information. So now you want to again start relating this information back to your previous information, then back to the first information. All you need to do is just press escape. You are back into your stock summary, escape, and you are back into the balance sheet, right? So now I need to go to profit and loss account, and these are the basic things. I am sure that most of you know this, right? So how do I go to profit and loss account now? Escape, go to profit and loss account, right? Yes. So there is this P&L account below. Enter, and I get into the profit and loss account. Now, using again the secret number 1, if you see, I want to see profit and loss account quarterly for the year. So can I do that? Columnar, right? So that is how you make use of your, the button bar. So whatever you want to do, just look for that action, whether you are able to achieve or whether you will be in a position to get that information from the button bar. So it is not available now. For example, let us say now I am in stock summary. Right? So by default, Tally is going to give me the closing balance, right? So the closing balance as on date. But you want to now analyze this. What is the opening balance? What were the inward value? And what is the outward value? And the closing balance. So you want to see all the 4 columns. Now can I get it?
Yes.
So how do I get it? F12 configuration, right? So this is secret number 2. Right? So this button bar and F12 configuration, you can use it such that you will get in whatever way you can slice and dice the information and get this result what you are intending for. Okay? So, and this F12 configuration, if you see, is a dynamic configuration. So it is not a static information. Depending on the report you are in. So like supposing when you are in a master creation screen, when you press F12 configuration, it is going to give you those configurations related to master creation screen. Similarly, when you are in a report, it is not that it is going to be common across all reports. Balance sheet will have a different configuration, stock summary will have a different configuration. Similarly, various other report has a different configuration. Like quickly, if I want to see, I just want to see the quantity, I don't want to see the rate. I don't want to see the value, but then I want opening, inward, outward and closing. Control A. Now it is going to give me just the quantity of opening, inward, outward and closing. So this is how basically it helps us navigating, and these 2 very important things, the button bar and the F12 configuration, will really assist you in getting lot of analyticals that you want to do and beyond. I mean, like the analysis beyond accounting or beyond the basic reporting is what you can do about it. So this is one aspect of it. The other one is the security aspect of it, right? So I'll just quickly walk through the security part. So because how do we know? First of all, now for example, now I load this company and yes.
One. See, what is important is I told you about this learning how to learn. Now if you look at this, can you go back to the main page of Tally? I just wanted to understand this concept of how a software is architected. Now this particular principle which I told you, this could apply to any software. Okay, what is most important is keep your eyes open, read what is there. Just like I have traveled to so many countries. In airport you don't need to ask for direction. If you know how to read, you can always find the direction. In software also, it's very important that you read the menus. Look at what are the menus. Click. Nothing is going to happen. You click and then see what is going to happen. Click and enter. You have to only select, click, enter and see what happens. Then you can always escape and come back. Okay, if you look at this particular one, this is what I said is the architecture of the software. Okay, on top you have something called the static buttons. What are the static buttons? The top one.
So you have the sprint, export,
etc. There also you have the help which is supposed to be context sensitive. Which means if you are in a particular master, now you have to create a particular master. You want to know how to create a master, you are in that particular master, you don't know, you want to see the detail, you can click that particular help, you will be able to get online help. The second thing, if you look at the second section, it has got 2 windows, okay, or 2 sections. Okay, the first one will give you the option about the dates, and the second will give you the gateway or the menus of the tallies. Okay, the right side, the third section which is set is the button bar. Like Pugal said, the button bar is something which is very dynamic. You need to remember that what is that you're looking for? For example, F11, F12. F11 will give the features, F12 will give the configuration. Like we said, F12, generally we have an idea, okay, we know that it's their configuration only one time. But it can give you dynamic information depending on need. Quite often we have a perception that we know the software, we have used F11 in one particular context and we think we know everything. But if you start looking at, let's say you're doing a voucher entry, you press F11 and see what happens, you press F12, what happens. Just look at it and then you will be able to explore. A lot of new things are there which I didn't know at all. Okay, and the last which is there at the bottom, it gives you statistical information about that particular thing. Then one more window which is the right hand side, leftmost side. No? I'll come back to this a little later. So for the time you get, what do you think it can be used for? It can be used for doing calculations. It can be used as a calculator.
this
Okay.
calculator panel.
Okay, not only that, it can also be used for SQL queries. Do you know that in Tally you can also do SQL queries? I'll show you that. Okay, so you just know the power of SQL query. Let's say I'll just pick up a simple thing, let's say ledgers. You know ledger has got, let's say, about 300 plus bits of information, fields. Okay, a lot of things which you need for the purpose of audit. We can just run that SQL query. I'll just run that and show you later how you can run that ledger and get that particular information. Okay, so anything that you want, you can get that information. What is important is for you to know when you look at a particular software, this is what you should learn. Okay, what are the menus, how the information is stored, and where does it flow. And next thing is navigation. Okay, if you navigate, drill down, go down, how can you navigate, flow through the software? What happens at each of the stages? Generally, when we do an application audit, this is what we do. First thing we do is we go through the manual just to get an idea about what the software is about, and then we ask them to give us a quick walkthrough of the software. And the walkthrough of the software is right from the beginning. And this is what I said, for example, right from the time how does the company get created? And from there, okay, how do you create the masters? And that's the last point which I want to come. If you look at the main menu also, look at the way the menus are organized. Every software has the same thing. In a particular way, the menus are organized. For example, if you look at MS Office and you look at MS Word, what are the menus which you have got? You got file, you got edit, you got, what is the next one? View, then you have reports, like in Excel you have data analysis like that. Okay, similarly in Word you have got something else. Similarly in PowerPoint you got something. So like that, in any Windows-based software, you find there are common menus. Inside file, you know what are the menus which are going to be there. There is going to be new, you are going to open, close, modify, rename, like that. There are standard things. Okay, like that, any software there are some standard menu options which are already available. So it means even without opening the software, you already know 30 to 40% of the features. Okay. Now, if you know the gateway of Tally and you know which are the features which are there, even if you take any high-end ERP software, whether you take SAP or Oracle Financials or anything for that matter, you find the information is organized in that particular way. What is the way information is organized? For example, first thing, what do you see there? You have the masters. Okay, what is masters? This way you create, these are one time this one. For example, you create the head of accounts. Okay, this way you create the chart of accounts. This is the masters. Okay, you have different types of masters. Quite often we think that Tally is only an accounting software, it's beyond accounting. You can also do inventory, you can do payroll, you can do compliances. So once you navigate inside, you know what are the masters which can be created in Tally. Second thing, after that you have transactions. What are transactions? The transactions where you enter regular data, the different types of transactions which are there. And the third part is some utilities which are there. Okay. And the fourth one is the reports. In many high-end software, to get a report, balance sheet, profit loss account, you have to do so many processes. Month-end processing and so many other processes to just generate even a balance sheet or profit loss account. Here in the case of Tally, it's very simple. You just click at the click of a button, you can get the latest information on the click of a button. So you've got various types of reports. Now there are two types of reports. One is the static reports, which is the updated information. At any point of time, if you press that F2, that is F2 or period, you can go and change the period there so that dynamically you can get that information. Okay. I've come across many accounting software where they say that I can give the result only up to the last month. If you want this, you have to do a month-end processing only, then I can give the balance sheet and profit loss account. Okay, here you know that you don't need to get any time you want any particular information, just by click few F2, F4, you can get that information. Okay, and the last part is the display. What is the display? Display is what gives you access to all the information which is there, the reporting, extraction, any data you want to extract. Using the display, you can generate any type of reports. Okay. Most of the time, you think there are some static reports which are available. There are also various types of dynamic analysis you can do, which you can use for various types of audit. I think we'll come to that a little later.
Yeah. So under the display, I just want to continue with the display. So there are two things. Like for example, you have this accounting book, which is your basic books of account, like your normal cash book, your ledger, and all those things. Then you have the statement of account, which are more of an MIS related kind of information. Similarly, you have this inventory book, and statement of inventory is going to give you a lot of other MIS analytical menus where you can actually play around with the data to get the information. Quickly, I just want to discuss on the security part of it. So now when I load this company, so the moment I select this company, now it is going to ask for the username and the password. So we know that security has been enabled in this, and then security has been provided here. Now, can I create, for example, if I want to create more users or security types in Tally for my various different entities who is going to be the, like for example, I have my officer, CFO, data entry operator, or my senior accountant. So can I create more than one or any number of security types in Tally? Can we create? Right? So I just because in fact last 2-3 months we have been interacting a lot. I've been interacting a lot with sir, and the idea of now bringing this basic thing, you must be wondering, I mean, like the 30-year-old information again, why are you repeating the same thing? Like what we were just thinking was that these are some of the things which many of them would not know, because that intuitiveness is not, they are not able to see that thing. So just quickly I just want to run that. So Alt F3 is security control. Now when you come to the security control here, the type of security, by default we have these 3 securities, right? So now you just come down here and then now we can create a new kind of security. Like for example I will say accountant. So now I have created, and the moment we create it, now it is going to ask you what is the basic facility that you want to apply for. So you don't have to really go on. So before this, you have to understand, at the bottom if you see on the left hand side it says disallow the following features, and below that it says others will be allowed. Okay. On the right hand side it says allow the following features to be re-enabled the disabled features. So now the point here is that it is asking you, we would have, already we have set the security level for data entry operator and owner. Now when you are creating a new security level, what is the security options that you want to be inherited into this particular new user, so that what you can do is you can go and further disallow or allow. Otherwise in Tally you have some 236 reports that you need to first disallow, or first you need to, by default Tally allows everything. So if you want to disallow all 236 and then go and re-allow, it is going to be time consuming. So basically these are the things it says, what is that inheritance you want. So now I say that I want the inheritance of the owner, enter, and days allowed for backdated voucher, and I am sure that all of you know this. The moment we specify this, it allows the user only to the extent of number of days that you allow for backdated entries. Next comes cutoff date for backdated entry. Even though a particular, supposing if I give my accountant say 10 days, I am allowing him to pass the backdated entry, but then on 30th of September my auditor has come and then he has completed his internal audit and he is now frozen the books of account. I don't want anybody in my company to go and change anything prior to 30th of September, which means my first 6 months I want to freeze my books of account. Okay, irrespective of the level of security that we give, the moment we specify here cutoff date as 30th of September, even though my accountant has the facility to go and do backdated alteration or entries for 10 days, from the cutoff date he will not have the backdated entry option, which means for him to get the access of backdated entry on 11th of October is what now he will have backdated entry of 9 or 10, the 10 days facility that he is going to get. So that's one very important thing, where now basically as an auditor, I mean like as an internal auditor or as a statutory auditor, these are some things if we can know, and if we can ask the client to say that okay, I want you to freeze this books of account, that way we can make sure that the data is not going to be modified. The next is set. Okay, set. This is a simple exercise. Set alter rules for printing before saving. So this is not overriding, is also not. Allow company to connect. This is again user related thing. Use talent. Now we will come here. If you see here, it says disallow the following facilities. Right. So let me just quickly show how many reports are there. Right. So these are the reports, and there are another 124 reports which you can allow or disallow the user at this particular level. So you can select all these things. So let me just take one quick example so that we can demonstrate. Now for this accountant, what I am saying is that I want to allow him everything else which my owner has got, and in this case I am going to say I am going to disallow full access to the vouchers, right? And now I don't want to disallow anything because all rest of the thing I really don't mind about it, right? So now I come back here. So what I have done here, I have disallowed access to voucher entry. But for this accountant, I want him to only pass, say, sales entries, right? So now I come here and then I say you can now create, or maybe I can tell you can create an alter. You can create an alter sales voucher. Enter. So now I have finished this, I have saved it. I have accepted. So I have created a new security type called accountant. Now this security type I can give to any number of users now. So how do I go and set the users and password? So you go to users and password, right? So now there is accountant here. So I'll just set it for one person here, accountant here. So the username I'll just say AC, password also I'll put it as AC, end of the list. And now I have logged in as an administrator or as an owner. So let me just log out. And now let's say the accountant is going to log into the company. So AC is his username, AC is AC. So now if you see here, this person, whatever the owner had the right. So if you go to the owner, you will know what is enabled or what is allowed or disallowed. So now that is inherited to him. Apart from that, what have we done? We said that this accountant can do voucher entry. So I will go to, and you will notice here, it now only gives accounting voucher. Inventory voucher is not there and your payroll voucher is not there, which we saw in the earlier screen, in the earlier login. So now I go here to the accounting voucher and enter, and you will notice here, by default when you enter into voucher entry screen in Tally, you will get payment voucher, right? So it goes to the sales, and on the right hand side if you see here, all other voucher types are disabled. Okay. So this way, using the security, once we know that this concept of allow, disallow, right? So once we know this, you can really bring lot of controls on the client side from an assurance point of view.
Now, some of you might be wondering, why should we cover this? Most of the cases where you do the audit, you get a data from the client, or you go to the client and then you do the audit. You get a copy of the data, some of you sit on the client data this machine and go through, do a preliminary review of the ledgers, based on that you do the audit. Or you get a dump of the data, the client will give you tallied backup data or a copy of the data files and you do the audit. Okay. Should you be really bothered about security control, what they have kept, why should you be bothered? Because that's not in the scope of your audit. Generally, if you do tax audit, VAT audit for that, you are not within that particular scope of audit. Okay. So this way you need to remember, are you doing audit only for the purpose of Chapa, where you want to cite this one, or you want to provide real validation? Quite often they say the biggest risk is the ignorance about the existence of the risk itself. Most of the audits you do are for clients who are small and medium enterprises. Okay, which is you have one or two this one, owner or partners like that, and then based on that to do this one. And in many cases you find the accountant will be one or few accountants who will be doing the particular data entry. They don't even know what the risk of keeping the control everything to the particular case. Here, at least with your knowledge of Tally, you can say that you can provide this one. You can actually help them to configure so that the data protection is there, so that only the persons who need to access the data can access particular information. This is where you can bring in validation. So if you look at what we are talking about, one is the gateway of Tally, I've already explained to you the overall structure. Second is selection of options. For example, do you want to do accounting? Do you want to do inventory? Do you want to do compliance? You can go and set the configuration based on which you can use. In many cases, I've seen most of the clients use Tally only as an accounting software. There are very powerful features for compliances. They use maybe for VAT. Other than that, they don't use for other features at all. Because why? They don't know how to configure. And this is where if you know how to configure that and help them to get started, this could be one more avenue where you can help the client to actually get started. For example, VAT, they give you that information, you file that information. Instead of that, if you can configure that quite well, you can help them to get started. They can automate that particular process also. Same thing applies to inventory and various other compliances. So what is important in understanding any software is understanding the architecture. A sculptor asked, what is the secret of the success? How is he able to cast such beautiful statues? He said, there is no secret at all. When I see a piece of stone, I don't see the stone. I see the piece of beautiful statue inside. But the others are not able to see. So I bring the statue home, remove the unwanted parts, and then the statue emerges from the stone. Now my question is, where was the statue? In any software, there's a default configuration based on which the software is configured and to give you some optimal usage. Now, it depends on how you are able to configure. In Tally itself, you find that if you enable yes, then you can get inside. Again, you enable yes, you can get inside. So initially, it looks like, okay, it has got only so many things. But if you don't, because by default, many of the things have no. But only when you say yes, then only you can get in further. For example, the creation of the company itself. If you get in, if that has been security has been set to no, what can you do? You should talk about security. So the client comes in and you find the data security itself is not there, which means what? Anybody can access the data of Tally. So now you need to ask the owner, how many people do you have who can access Tally? And is the data not confidential to anybody can access any information? So he'll say, no, we don't want anybody to access the data. We want only one fellow. In that case, now the way it has been configured, what do they need to do? They need to go to the creation of the company, they create the company, and they can set the user ID password. Not only that, to ensure that only the owner has got maximum access, the accountant is there, has got limited access to whatever he has to do, you can ensure that admin password is the owner or who is the manager of the particular company, with a copy with the owner, and then you ensure that the person who is doing the job has access only to the particular option. So we go with the mistaken notion that okay, Tally is very simple, it doesn't have any security controls. Okay, there are security controls which many of us don't use. Not only that, there are also various add-on features which are available, add-on software which are available, using which you can build in any level of security. It all depends on how you want it. So we already gone through. Another important feature that I think most of you are familiar is the drill down or navigation. Yeah?
Multi-user facility.
Yeah.
The single user license. Tally Silver also you can do that.
Tally Silver, what you can do is that
Especially small clients, they have Tally
yes,
Silver.
yes. From the latest release, what we have done from release 5, you can use single user as a multi-user, but you can only access from any node or any computer one this thing. Like for example, let us say I have a system here, and there is another system there. So somebody is working on Tally using the license. Right. Now when I try to access from a single user, it will give me educational. Once that system is shut down, then since I have already installed Tally here, now I get this license borrowed to my system. So at any point of time, irrespective, so this barrier of your computer is broken. So accountant is doing all the work here, and you really don't have, as an owner, you really don't have to go to the accountant's desk and then go and see what is there. So he's finished his work at the end of the day. Now you start Tally, his serial number is on, because that serial number is not there. So at any point of time you can access Tally from anywhere in the network on a single machine. The same data can be accessed. That's the
How does the serial number get shifted to your machine?
Since it is on the LAN. Since it is on the LAN, you will get that automatically, the serial.
Does it need a static IP in that case?
Generally, on a LAN environment, you have this static IP, and the system IP is what it gets recognized. So basically, what happens is the license, it recognizes the license. Only thing in multi-user environment, if you see that multiple systems can access because of the multi-user capability. In case of single user, it will once the license is shut in one system, taking that information, this particular system now allows you to use it. Otherwise, we know that in education,
automatically.
Yes, it does automatically. No configuration is required. Otherwise, we know in education version of Tally, you only pass first, second, and 31st, and in certain reports, you can't filter the report. Right? So that drawback is now removed on single.
Okay, let's go ahead. So navigation drill down, I think most of you know how to navigate. I think Pugal has also shown you that you can navigate anywhere, you can jump to anywhere, and you can move along, and you can also go back. Okay, you can go back, but you cannot come forward. So you should know that's not possible. So you can always escape and go back to the previous state. That's how we can actually navigate wherever you want. We can get that particular information. Okay, and then we also have this reporting, exporting, or query features through which you can get any type of information you have. Now this query which you're thinking, I thought probably this is the time to give you the bonus of how I can run this particular query. Okay, so let me show you. So this is the window which I said. Now I just have to select star from ledgers. Okay, this is what I have given. Now see what will happen. This company is open, this is 11 12, this is work of the company which is open. Okay, I think it's ledger. Let me go to 1213. Okay, I am here. This calculator window. Select star from ledger. Okay, I press enter. Now if you see, these are all the fields which are available in this one collection called ledger. Okay, this is like a table, no? Which is called ledger. Now if you see here, just look at the type of information is captured. I'm just giving you a quick overview. Now, if you know for every ledger, this type of information is available. Okay, starting from ST registration date, sampling date factor, active from, active to, created date, when was this particular ledger created? Okay, altered on, when was this particular ledger altered, excise registration. Like that, there are hundreds of fields which are, so there are over 300 plus fields which are available. Okay. Now let's look at it from this. Basically, I just want to show you some examples. You have this currency name in which it is being maintained, email, state name, like that. There are a lot of information which is available pertaining to the ledger. More than 300 plus fields which are pertaining to the ledger. Depending on a need, you can extract the particular information. What is that you need to know for extracting this information? That this is the field name. So for example, you want information about the excise range. Okay, this applies only to the excise field where the excise, this one is there. So you have to give that select dollar excise range from ledger, it will give you the information pertaining to the excise range. Okay, let me come to the accounting part. Now for example, you have this dollar parent. Just remember this. You also have what are the various types, business type, SME registration, like that you have multiple things. Okay, so I'll just run this because I already know what is available. I'll just show you some important things, especially from the financial aspect. Let me go to the end and see what is available here. Can I export this data to Excel? Yes, because whenever you see this particular export option is available, when you click on export, what will happen? It will give you the option. I'll say no, I can get in XML or I can also get in Excel or the format you want. Okay. So ideally what we do is you export in Excel, do the analysis, or if you want to see what are the type of fields, maybe you can just copy that, transpose it in Excel, then you'll be able to clearly see, okay, what are the field row wise you'll be able to see, and then you select which are the things you want. Then you can come and query only that particular fields. So if you see here, let me just, I want to see even rounding limit, what are the features being used is available. See, this is the opening balance. For each of the ledgers is the opening balance which is maintained. So if you want to query and pick up only the opening balance, what does that have to give? I can select star, star means all. If I want only opening balance, what will I give? Select dollar, what is the field name? See here, dollar opening balance, ensure that it is given correctly. Then you will be able to extract all the opening balances. Okay? Similarly, so you also have the VAT rate here. What is the VAT rate which is applicable for that particular commodity? For the ledgers which have got VAT. Now you got the closing balance. If I want the closing balance, what would I give? What would I give? Select? Dollar? That's what is important. Okay, so there is not just this one, the underscore closing balance. What is the underscore? Whenever Tally computes a balance, it keeps the closing balance. Opening balance it has taken from somewhere. Okay, closing balance is what is dynamically computed. For this particular ledger, up to this particular thing, what is the closing balance will be given here. And then you also have the primary group. You remember earlier we had dollar parent. Okay, then we have dollar underscore primary group. Then you have our account value, cash flow, inflow, outflow, what is the interest. Now what is this year balance, what is previous year balance, like that you get any type of fields. Okay, I'll just show you one thing. Let's say select name. Is it name or dollar name, comma, dollar parent, or is it underscore parent? Okay, let us see. Dollar opening balance, comma, dollar underscore closing balance, then from what? From ledger. Okay. I say enter. Now you see. You're able to get what have you got now? Name, parent, opening balance, closing balance. Can I export this? I can export this directly to Excel and then I can do the analysis. So anything you want, this is only for one example, I give you that ledger, you can query and get that information. So similarly, any type of things which you want, you can also access that particular information. So this querying How many of you know this? That it is possible? Only one of you know this.
1.5.
Okay. So what does it show? Now I just showed you one example of ledger. Any information is there. If I show you, let me show you that. I think let's this one. Then you know what is type of information. There is what is that? You can say a volume, great volume of information is available. Now depending on what you need, you can pick up the information which you want. Okay. Have you used? How many of you use ODBC in Tally? ODBC. There's something called ODBC in Tally, which means from Tally directly you can export the data which you want. What I show you through the query. You can also import now. What we have to do, we have to query, and then that I have to export in Excel. That's one. I can directly through Excel itself. I can import the data what I want directly into Excel, and that is using ODBC. In any software, this is one important thing you should know. Any high-end software you use. Okay, the ODBC is an important feature whereby you can pick any specific information which you want. For example, let's say our friend is doing audit of SAP. He is doing audit of this one, sundry tasks or sundry creators. He wants only information pertaining to that sundry tasks. So there are various ways you can get this information. One way of getting that information is you ask them to generate a report and give that to you in Excel or so. Or if you know ODBC, you know the tables, you can directly run that query and get that information. Okay, so what I wanted to show you was, now for example, for running this function, you should ensure that Tally is open. Okay, now we know that two versions of Tally are open. Let me close one. We'll have only. You should also know that you can run multiple versions of Tally. Did you know that? You can run multiple versions of Tally. You want to see balance sheet one place, many times you have to navigate. No? You can open multiple instances of Tally. You will see balance sheet in one place, profit and loss account in one place. You want to see daybook in one place. All the three things you can open it like multiple windows. No. You talk about window-based concept, it's always there. So you can open multiple things and you can navigate wherever you want.
In fact, you can resize the window of Tally also. Resize it. Balance sheet, P&L account, import. It's basically like the Windows tiling and the facility that you have. You can do that using multiple instances of Tally.
Okay, now let's look at what is the Tally which is open here. So I have not opened this. Select company. Let me select this. 1213. Okay, this is what I got from. What I would like to do is, I would like to run a ODBC. So in database, from other sources, I got Microsoft query. Okay, now this is, it's important that you should have enabled it. Let me see. There is a Tally ODBC. Okay, there is a problem in this ODBC. Okay. Let me try another one. Okay, I should have got 3. No, I think there's a problem with the ODBC connection. I think we'll. Anyway, what you can do is that I'll just give you an idea what happens in this case.
In the Tally, it wouldn't have been enabled the connection. F12.
Let's see.
Nothing to do with
Data configuration.
No, I think it's not a problem.
Advanced configuration, the ODBC enabled.
Okay.
Yeah, it's enabled.
Enabled, no? Yeah.
By default, it will be enabled.
I think yeah, I'm using it. There's some issue with this. I think maybe there's something is not properly configured. So what you can do in this case is when you open this, it will give you all the tables which are available. Like I showed you ledger, no? Like that there are about 190 tables which are available. A ledger, excise, sales tax, TCS, TDS, like that. So you can click on that, all the fields which are available will show. Then you can go and select what fields you want and then you can import directly into Excel. Okay.
Can I even import transactions?
Which ones?
The transactions.
In ODBC, you can import only the masters, not the transactions. Okay, in transactions, if you have to do, what you have to do in this case is, you come to, a display, daybook. If you want to export, this is a daybook. So by default, this is the last date is shown. I want to change here, F2. I change it to, what do I enter generally here?
A4.
A12, I got this. Which means I got this information. This is the complete ledger, all the transactions for the year. Okay. Now I want to see the detail. I can click on detail. So it means I get both the debit and the credit. So these are details. It gives me a list of all the transactions. Now this is where I want to show you some So if I'm, let's say, I was supposed to do it a little later, but now that we are here, we'll do it now. So what I'd like to do is, this is a complete list of the transactions. You do a ledger scrutiny, where you go to a particular ledger and then do the review. Now we've got all the transactions at one shot. Okay. Now I'd like to do audit. Let's say I want to pick up based on, let's say, the voucher type. Before this, let us finish what we started with. I want to export all the transactions. How do I do? I just go here, export. Okay, so I'll say just default I want to in Excel. Okay, so I'll say, let me call it as DB, output file name. Update existing file, it is there, I'll say no. This also color I don't know. Open exported file, yes. Detail, it also, here also you have to give detail. So show voucher number also, show narration also. If you want narration, I can give narration. Or if I don't want narration, I can say no for narration. Show bill-wise details. Now if you see the details you can get. You can get bill-wise detail, cost center details, inventory details, like that you can get various types of information. Okay, here also again you have a filter. I can get the accounting vouchers also or all vouchers. For the timing, let's say I am going to select only accounting vouchers. I'll say yes. Okay, show forex transactions, no. And say export. So what do you expect to see? All the transactions which have happened during the year will be exported to Excel in a columnar format. Okay, so once you got that, you can do various types of analysis using filter itself. So any questions up to this point?
Can we import from Excel to Tally?
Which one?
Using ODPC. From Excel to Tally.
You can. There are two ways you can do. You can export data to Tally. You can also import data to Tally. But Tally get what the data in a particular format. Okay. So in that case, what you have to do is you have to give it in that particular format.
So basically, you can do transactions entry in Tally from Excel.
What you can you cannot do transaction entry from Excel.
Yeah. See, basically what happens is that the data structure of Tally, whichever, whether it is Excel or any software, the moment you can map the data structure of that software to Tally, then you can push it.
So example, if I have 1 day sales,
yes,
I export it in Excel.
Correct.
And then from next day onwards, I put it in Tally, Excel format, in the Tally's format.
Yes.
Then can I input full Excel in Tally?
Yeah, if it is in the same format,
We'll export it so that we'll get the format.
you can do that. In XML, you can push it back.
But to
And
convert
how do
from
you
Excel to
convert from
XML,
Excel to Excel?
No, basically you can export the data in XML. See, the thing is, what happens is that you cannot read the XML format, right? So it's more of a technical thing. So generally, what we do is whenever an external data needs to be imported into Tally, you just map those fields as required by Tally, and then you can now push it in. So we basically call this as a bridge program. A small bridge program needs to be written so that it identifies and then converts that data structure into Tally's data structure. Then it becomes easy to do. Otherwise, it really requires a technical thing. Like you need to understand the data structure of Tally and then convert that into the XML format. And once it is in XML format, you can push it back. Like simple thing. For example, let us say that there is this daybook which is there, and see, generally you can correct it within Tally also. I'm just giving an example. Now you take this data set and convert it into XML. Now you are seeing this in Excel. The same thing can be converted into XML. Once you convert, let us say that couple of transactions you want to change the value. So you are changing the value, or you are changing the date or something. So now this data is correct. So now you want to push it back into Tally. You don't want to go and then re-enter those things. So once you have done this, now you can say import. Because now this has got the data structure of Tally. So what you have done is you have only modified, you have not modified the structure. Then it easily puts the information into Tally and it updates.
But the addition transactions,
additional transaction in XML format.
okay.
See, if you know, if you have this little technical understanding of this field, you can actually create an Excel sheet and then push it in. That's what generally our partners do.
See, generally the simple answer is you are entering data directly in Tally. Instead of that, you got, let's say, already you are entering Excel, or you are already using some other software. From that particular software, you want to do a data migration. That's possible. Okay, how that is possible? You have various vendors who provide these add-on solutions. For example, if you go to Tally's website, there will be an add-on solution who will say you have this. In fact, they have for various types of software, hundreds of software which are available. For example, you are using links or profit or anything, SAP, anything for that matter. You want that particular data to be ported here, you can port that particular thing. Recently we did audit of one e-commerce company. In that particular e-commerce company, for their e-commerce transactions, they are getting that information which is there in their e-commerce platform. The end of the day, they summarize all the transactions, they are pushing it to Tally, and that happens automatically. So there is a solution interface can be built for that. That's possible.
That interface is done, yes.
So what you can definitely do that. What you can do is see, if you spend time, you can do it, or there are already ready-made solutions. You go to Tally's website, look at it, or you talk to the Tally partner, telling that this is what I want. They will develop the solution for you in no time, or they already have a ready-made solution. You search for this online, you will be able to get that information. That is how you can do it. Okay. So let's quickly go because I want to cover the most important part, which is the assurance part a little later. So this is the data. This gives you all the transactions from Excel. I think you would have attended a lot of seminars from Shiv Kumar. He is an expert in that. Who will tell you, okay, you got the data in this one, Excel. How you can do the analysis? How you can do tax audit when you got the data in Excel? You want to pick up transactions about 20,000 rupees. You want to pick up the expenditure about 10,000 rupees. Once you got the data. Now the problem with this particular data is this data is not in a structured format. For example, if you see date here, there is only one field here. Okay. So when you want to do the filter, you have to do a little more circus format the particular data and then do the analysis. For that, I suggest what you can do is you can contact Shiv Kumar, or there are some YouTube videos for the presentation he has made, or he also does one-day seminar on Excel, how to use Excel for audit. I think you can attend, you will get this information. So I would not like to get diverted to that area, but the key thing which I want to show is any information, not just this day book, any information which is there in Tally, you can export into Excel and do your analysis. Okay. Now let's come back to our presentation. So we talked about reporting export. See, the basic in any accounting software, what is required? See, these are key things you need to remember. First is you need to configure the software. So based on how you need to, it's like fine-tuning that particular software to depend based on your requirement you have to do. Second thing is you need to have models so that you can access the transaction based on what you want. For example, you're doing only accounting only. Okay, for example, as C office, you're not doing any sales. So you can configure what are the transactions you want. So there is a transaction entry, and you want to get the summation of the particular result. So when you get the report, you want the report, two types of reports. One, you get summarized reports like a balance sheet, profit account, fund flow statement, ratio analysis like that. Or you want detailed report. Or you want dynamic report for a particular period. You can generate any type of information reports directly from Tally if you know how to extract that information. You can do it directly from Tally, or you can export to Excel and then do the analysis further as required. So this is the key point which I want to show. This is a feature which is there not only in Tally, it will be there in any other software. The only question how this is provided, you need to navigate and get an idea how this is done. This what I talked about is learning how to learn. Okay. So if you know how the Tally runs, probably same principles you can apply in a ERP also, but it will be at a very higher level. For example, configuration. For inventory configuration itself, there could be so many parameters you have to know. For accounting configuration itself, there will be so many parameters you have to know. But configuration is there. That's also called as parameterization. It is there in any software. Okay. First thing is you need to understand how the software has been configured. And next you look at the users, how the users have been created, what rights have been granted. And next is what type of reports or information you can generate. So this we already created. When you want to look at the security and controls, so you need to go back right to the creation when the company was created, look at what is the feature in which how the company was created. So if you're getting the data and there is no user ID password, so first thing you should know, okay, is that okay for that company, for the type of operation they have? You already know what is the organizational structure, you know what is the turnover. Let's say you get a company data, we've got a turnover of 20 crores or 50 crores, okay, and you find they don't have any user ID password. First thing you need to ask is that for that company, do you think is it okay? If you are the owner of the company, would you like to keep the data without tagging user ID password? So the first thing you should recommend, although it is not in your scope, first thing you should tell, okay, why have you not created the user ID password? Who is the accountant who is maintaining? How many accountants are maintaining? What are the risks of that? So you should also understand what are the risks of that, what can go wrong. Okay, so we also showed you that we can also do the security and controls. There is also password policy in Tally, where you can go and set the password, where you can say, let me just show you quickly. This is Alt F3. Yeah. You got security and control, you got the user ID and password, you got the types of security which you already see.
Screen.
Oh, I can explain that. Okay. We'll keep it to the end. I need to finish this. I want to give a particular message. I will come to that. We'll have about 10-15 minutes for the. Listen, I want to see that you don't miss the core part which I want to show. Okay, we'll pass that question. Right. I just want to show you, for example, you have already seen the user ID and password. This is what you should do. So if you have got a client who's, let's say, turnover more than 10 crore rupees, or depending on the business, you have to decide, okay, whether that particular company requires user ID and password. So you know by default that user ID password is there. In many cases, the company doesn't know, the accountant doesn't know how to do it. This could be validation that you can provide, that I think we need to secure the data and how you can secure the data. Recently, I came across this one of my friend called me who attended the DISA course. She said they have been hit by a ransomware. You know what is a ransomware? Okay, all the data, Word document, Excel document, everything has been encrypted. You know that they got a message on the desktop. What does it say? You have to pay $200 to this particular account, and they have also given documents how you can configure and pay that amount. Only then they will give you a decrypt key, then you can get your data. Okay. So I had a friend of mine who is an expert in security, who was earlier working in IBM for 20 years. So I talked to him and he told me, he did research, he saw the input screen, we sent to the security expert, he went through that and said, there is a ransomware called server. And he said the only thing is it's possible to remove that manually or automatically, but the antivirus is not able to detect that. And the only way to do is that two options. One is to pay that money and hope that you give that particular decryption key. Second thing, forget your data. If you got backup of data, then use the backup of the data. I asked that lady, and they said, no sir, we are in busy season, tax audit season. Now they say this particular whole data, they have got about 10 people, and the whole data is gone. And they say, what is the backup? They said, we have taken the backup somewhere in July. Which means what? They don't have any data at all. So just imagine the CFO, you got hundreds of clients, this one, and then which means the whole data is gone if you don't have backup. So what is simple precaution you have to take for that? Simple precaution is you need to ensure that you have a regular backup. Not only that, you also need to ensure that you don't click on files which are interesting. Some email attachment, oh, this attached document for you, so and so, like that. They will give you this one, you click on that and the virus is activated. Okay, and recently I read, yesterday only, now they also started, earlier they had this $200, now they have varied the rates. So $200, $600, now they're also looking at the criticality of the particular one and they also increase their fees. And there is no guarantee once you pay and you will get back the particular data. And now the best part is this particular guy who has created the ransomware is also selling it on the SaaS model. What is SaaS model? Somebody on the cloud can go and buy that particular service, he can run the service as much money he can get, and after that he can discontinue the service. And there is a particular mechanism for payment through which you can't really detect where the money has gone. So this is a simple precaution which the client has to take. If you got the data, have you taken a backup of the data? Forget about client. I'm asking about you. What are the latest backup you have kept? And where have you kept that backup? Is it only on the computer or is it on the laptop? Have you kept an offline backup? Now you need to ask, you know the value of the data only when you lose it. And especially at a critical time when you have to file. Most of your clients come in the end, last 10 days, 15 days. Recently I was supposed to speak in a conference in Munnar, 14 to 16. So the date got extended to 17. What did the organizers do? I thought the CS have got more time, no? They should be able to spend it more relaxedly. They postponed the conference. But because no, CS have to be there for the clients. So the extended date is extended to 17, they also postponed the seminar. So CS will continue to extend till 17th, they will continue to work till 17th. Okay. So the date is extended to 30th November, till CS will continue to work till 30th November. So you need to know the value of your information. And that value of information not only pertains to, now this particular server software which I was telling you, not only infects the Word and Excel files, it can also attack at the root level, which means that your hard disk itself is encrypted. Which means you cannot do that. And now I came to recent variants where they said every time you try to reboot or fix it, no, it will delete 100 files. Okay, just imagine the value of the data and what is the amount of hard work you have. So this is why I think you need to know what is the importance of security. And many times the client don't know. Forget about client. Do you know the value of your data? And what will happen if the data is lost? Complete data is lost. How much time is going to rebuild the data? And especially at a critical time when you have to do the filing. So one message, at least additional bonus message for you is, please go back and take the backup of the data and see that you kept in a secure site. Take 2 backups, keep it off-site, maybe keep another place also. Because this virus can spread anywhere. If it's on the server, it can get this spread. Not necessarily that you should click on a mail attack. Once it's coming, it can spread anywhere. And this includes most dangerous ransomware now. And millions of dollars have been paid because of that. Okay, so you have the various types of security, this we have seen. You also have the password policy. So now this is what I was telling you. By default, what is it? It's set to no. Why Tally should not have set it to yes? Because Tally has been made for a user-friendly software. They believe in the old days this one. We trust in God. Everybody, they say it's up to you if you want to enable it. Okay. So when you enable it, only then things will open up. See, many features of Tally by default are enabled to no. So you need to enable to yes to see what is the power behind this one. Okay, most of the cases we don't bother, and that's what I want to explore. So one at least message which I want to take home after this particular presentation is just spend about 1 hour in Tally exploring. Okay, you say yes, what will happen? You say yes, next what will happen? Just go and explore them. Otherwise you think that your staff knows everything, they will only know operate within a, like what the brilliant half know, they know what to do within a particular time frame. It's for you to be able to know what is possible, then you don't need to work, you can tell them, guide them in a better way. So you see, it gives you a policy where you can set the password. Depending on the criticality of the company, you can suggest what they need to do. Okay, now we want to come to, let me just quickly go through this. Practical approach, so I'll just take 5 minutes to quickly give you the concept. Any audit, if you see, what we're looking at is we need to collect the audit evidence and then the particular audit criteria. And audit criteria consists of policy procedures and the audit evidence consists of the records, registers, etc. The second thing which you need to remember is any report, regulatory requirement, if you see, they say adequate internal control procedure or they say major weakness in controls where the fraud has been detected. And similarly, if you see audit evidence, they talk about sufficient appropriate audit evidence. You also need to look at the criticality of the financial statements. Okay, now this is the latest about IFC. Whether the company has adequate internal financial controls and the effectiveness of such controls. Now many of the companies I've seen whose turnover is more than okay, we'll finish it now. So many of the cases you see, what happens in these cases, you're able to see my view. You're able to see what is the next slide. Okay, so many of the cases I have looked at even companies who are doing this, what is that, IFC, for whom IFC is applicable. Most of the cases now is IFC is applicable. Recently Institute came with one more publication for SMEs. But what are with the publication? You know that IFC controls something as an auditor you have to evaluate. So what does IFC require? IFC requires that you need to evaluate the controls relevant to financial statement preparation. Okay, which means you need to not only look at the final product, you also need to look at the control structure which has been implemented within the company for the preparation of the financial statements. Okay. So these are the 7 steps for using CATs, so I will not get into the details. Now what is an audit? This is the basic concept which I wanted to convey. When you talk about CATs or data analytics, we are talking about an automated tool. What is an automated tool? This is a definition of an automated audit tool. Any automated audit tool such as generalized audit software, test data generators, computer audit program, special audit tools and CATs. Anything computer assisted audit techniques. So this is what I want to show next through Pugal, where we will talk about how is that particular data working. Okay. So what is most important? This is one question which I want to ask you. In any audit you do, one critical document which you need to have is the information about what is the IT resource which has been used within the company. What is the hardware, what is the software, and this is basic thing which is required even in IFC also, where you look at the entity level controls and the process level controls. What is the IT infrastructure? I have come across CAs who do the audit. You can talk about listed companies also. If you ask them, do you have any documentation, what is the IT infrastructure? They don't know. They say we don't need to know. We get the financial statement, which means you're getting the result from the financial statement, but you don't even know how the financial statement is being produced. What is the IT architecture which is producing this particular information? So that is important. So what is IT resource all about? IT environment all about? What is the IT resource in terms of facilities? Where is the particular server residing? How many systems are connected? What is the application software? What is the database? And the most important thing is, what is the data they have? And this is what IFC also talks about, the entity level controls, the application controls and the general controls. Okay, now let's get into the practical demo where I want to show you what are the security features, sorry not security features, the assurance features which are available, specifically readily available in Tally, which I found most of the CAs don't know. This is what I want to show you. Okay, we'll get you started. Most of the cases you know, if you know how to click, you should be able to navigate and work out. Okay, so we'll not be able to go through fully, but I'll show you the key features. Based on that, it's just a question of you spending time understanding what are the features which are available. So the basic thing you need to understand is when you're using CATs, you need to understand the business process, you need to understand the regulatory requirements are applicable, what is the operational structure, and what is the technology which has been deployed. So you need to have the basic information pertaining to that. You also need to understand how the business transaction flows, what are the key business processes, and how does it flow. For example, if you take up, let's say, sales order, so you need to document this particular sales process. In that particular queue, whether it's simple or complex, you need to understand how this particular sales process works. And in an automated environment also, this becomes critical. Most of the cases, we assume that we already know the process, our voice goes there, they do the verification, they come back. You ask for documentation, they don't have anything. So in IFC, I think it becomes mandatory that you need to have documentation of the entity level controls and the process level controls. Which means, for all the critical business process, you need to know clearly how does the process get generated, who has got access to the information, what are the controls at each of the layers of information. So with this basic background, now let's look at what are the assurance features which are available in Tally.
How many of you know that we have something called Audit and Compliance menu in Tally?
Next question is, how many of you used it?
How many of you have used it? Rarely. Tried it. Okay. Couldn't understand what.
Just see the power of what is possible through this. And this coming free of cost, they're not asking for extra money for this.
Right, so now I have this current year. Basically, we need to do the, let's say we want to do this statutory audit. So there is this audit and compliance feature.
Screen.
Oh, see, this is the problem with the technology. What has happened is, this is supposed to be the latest Windows 10 and 2000, Microsoft 2016. I think every time it doesn't default change the screen. We have to go and change it again, which was there in 2010.
See now here, we have this picture Audit and Compliance. Okay. So I just quickly walk through it since we have this paucity of time. You can always explore. One is that you can actually create the audit documentation. You can actually have an audit program created. You can specify the audit team, what is the estimated time, and what is the actual time. So basically, for you to know, okay, what is the time frame that is taken to complete this audit. This is one part of it. The other one is you also have this audit report, which can be generated from Tally. The important thing is that audit and analysis. Now, if you see this, basically we have created this module and these features have been provided. Keeping in mind, we have during the BAP, we were running this program called BAP program from 2008, 2009 to we were running this thing. So we were involved. We met a lot of chartered accountants across India, and then we said, what are those critical analytical information that you are looking from the data of Tally. So these were some of the major requirements which have been told by the chartered accountant that you can get these kind of information. Since the data is having all this information, it becomes easy for us to get it. So one is that first we have this data analysis. We start with this verification of chart of account. Now if you see here, it gives you this menu. It is very easy. The moment you read the menu, you will understand what is the functionality that it is going to provide. So one is that I am seeing this information for the current year. Generally, we would want to compare this with the previous year, right? So I can now quickly note the company for my previous year. There is this option. Please remember the secret number 1, which is the button bar. So now I want to compare my previous year. There is an option which says compare company. You click on the compare company and then you take the previous year data. So now you have current year and the previous year data. So the first thing it says accounts squared of. Yes.
Are these two separate companies what you opened here? Or
yes, this is two separate companies. But if the previous year data is already there, so you say previous year and then select the same company and provide the previous period. So you can do that. Independent company or the same company. So the account squared out during the year. If you have to do this activity in Tally, can we do this in the default Tally? Yes, we can do this in the default Tally. So what we need to do is you need to go to the trial balance and then you have to go to F12, show me detail, and then you have to say show me the transactions where there is no balance also, and then literally you will have to go into each and every ledger and then see whether there is debit and credit transaction which is equal so that it is getting squared out during the year. Right? And this is very important again from the tax audit perspective also. Like section 269 SS and 269T, the payment beyond 20,000, thing. I mean, like, you will get this information. So we have considered this, and all you need to do here is just go and enter, and here it is. These are the ledgers which did not have opening balance during the current period, and there is transaction which is got debit and credit equal amount, and it is squared out during the year, and the closing balance is 0. In any case, by default, these ledgers are not even going to appear in the trial balance, right? So this is one aspect.
Yeah. What is the type of transactions? The company has created some accounts during the year, and they also close during the year. Okay. So it means there are a lot of manipulation or adjustments like that. Okay. Whereas when you see the trial balance, you don't have the balance. So you look at the trial balance, there is no balance at all. Okay. But you will be able to find out what are the company and ledgers they created and closed like that.
So this is one aspect of it. Now I'll allow you to just explore the other part. Another important thing is that used only in the current year, right? Again, what happens from a default tally, it's going to be time consuming for you to pick up this information, right? So here we have taken this information from the current year's data, and if you just select used only in the current year, now tally is going to give you the list of all the ledgers which have been used in the current year, or the ledgers that have been created in the current year and used. And also, if you see the first date of voucher entry, in the first date of voucher entry, you will know that when was the first transaction that has happened. And if the transactions are pertaining to the month of February, March, I am sure you know what to do, right? So this is going to give you this whole list of ledgers which have been created during the current year. Now let us say that you are more interested in ledgers that have been created in the current year and transacted, especially from a revenue ledger perspective. It means you want to see indirect expenses, how many new indirect expenses ledgers have been created, and what is the amount that has been transacted, and what is the date of transaction. Now you have this button on the right hand side which says F4 group. So you just press F4 and then you select indirect expenses. Right. So now tally is going to filter out all those ledgers, and it is going to give you only those ledgers which fall under indirect expenses group, and these are the ledgers that have been created during the current year and transacted during the current year. Now, like I mentioned earlier, now you are now viewing this information from the audit screen, but then you just want to go to balance sheet, right? So I had mentioned F10. F10 is the accounting report. So when you press F10, these are the accounting reports where tally will take you from this particular screen where you are. And F9, when you press F9, you are going to get these reports. Right? So where you can navigate to these reports. So these are the two areas. And the other thing, if you see, you have like this says not available in the current year, which means basically there are ledgers which were there in the previous year, but then those ledgers are not available in the current year. So similarly, each of the menu item, if you see, it very clearly says that what is the result, or what is that information that you want to see. You can just enter into it, and no configuration is required. So by default, it picks up those information based on these characteristics of the report that we wanted. So this is one aspect of it. The other one is the analytical procedure. Here, you can now start comparing. This is basically, if you see, it's like a three-dimensional reporting. You can start comparing group to group, and the moment you see on the right hand side, people who have been using power users of tally or regular users of tally, you will understand the power of this report. Right? So in the default tally, if you see, you can compare ledger to ledger, group to group, and those kind of things. But this is one report where you can compare any master to any master, which means you can compare a group to a cost center, you can compare a cost center to a ledger. So you have all these options there, comparison options. Let me just take one example for us to understand the report. So let's say that we want to compare group to group, and here base group, I'll say that we want the sales account, and we want to obviously compare with the purchase, right? So compare with purchase account. So this is my current year and this is my previous year. Right. So now you will see here. First, it takes the sales account as the base year. So it gives you for the current period what is the turnover compared with the previous period, what is the turnover and what is the increase or decrease in the turnover. Right. On the left hand side, it says for the current year, it says 1213. Taking this as the base of the current year, it also says what is the percentage of purchases in comparison to the sales account. Right. The third dimensional information that you would get here is comparing your purchases of the current year with the previous year, and also you get the variance, like what is the variance between the purchases of the current year and the previous year. Right. So this is one very, very powerful report where especially you can use this for generally in case of project accounting. Right. So you can take one particular project cost center. Generally, you create a cost center for project, take one particular project, and then now you can start comparing the various expenditures that has been incurred for that particular project, and you can compare with multiple projects and see that which project is profitable or which is more expensive. And those kind of analysis, very, very powerful analysis that we have in this. The other aspect of it, if you see, is the periodic payments and receipts. Okay. So these periodic payments and receipts are those ledgers where you can actually you can configure, like for example all the office rent which are in periodic in nature, like the office rent, telephone bill. Okay, so these things, basically you can go and identify those ledgers in Tally, and then you can say, okay, these are my periodic ledgers. The moment you configure, now Tally is going to give you a report. Now we have taken this example of office rent. So rent generally is what? It has to appear 12 months. So now it gives you the total amount of rent, what has been debited for the current year, and it is also giving you on the right hand side, you will see it also gives you the total number of vouchers, 12 vouchers. Right? Now it compares with the value that has been debited in the previous year, 9 lakh rupees. So now there is a difference between current year and previous year. So, and the total number of vouchers is also 12 numbers. So on the face of it, it looks fine, and generally rent could be 5%, 10% per annum is the increment, but then it is not matching to it. Right? So further you can go down and investigate. The moment you go down and investigate, now it is going to give you on a monthly basis. Right? So the rent here, if you see here, it is 75,000 rupees across in the previous year. Current year, April, it is 75,000 rupees, but in the month of May, you will see it is 1,50,000, and subsequently it is 1 lakh rupees. Right? And also you will notice here, though overall voucher count it is giving you 12. Right? So there is 2 voucher entry in the month of February, and there is no voucher that has been passed in the month of March. Right? So now you can go into this particular transaction and then see why this variation between 75 and 1 lakh, which is constant after the month of May. Enter, and then now you can go here, and then probably you can if you look into the narration, fortunately this accountant has put the narration, but generally we struggle. Right? We don't even know for what this transaction is being passed. Right? So now if you see this narration, it says very clearly the rent has been enhanced by 25,000 rupees, and additional deposit of 50,000 rupees has been paid towards security deposit. So ideally my accountant should have gone and put 50,000 rupees as additional security deposit. Instead he's gone and debited the rent, which is finally, see, but in the audit what happens is finally it is going to impact the profitability. Right? So these kind of things which are periodic in nature, you can quickly check this thing, mark them, and then get a trend of the periodic payment, whether they have been recorded properly on a periodic basis.
Is there any separate mechanism you have to say this is periodic?
Yes. So there is a master configuration. So otherwise Tally will not know which is a periodic payment ledger. Tally cannot distinguish between a rent ledger and a capital account ledger. Unless, depending on the group, it puts it in the respective report. So whichever ledger you want to identify as a periodic ledger, you can go and select an interest ledger also, which is every monthly or quarterly the interest is debited or credited. You can make this as periodic and see whether those informations have been captured periodically.
How do we do it? Can you just?
Yeah. So The first secret. What is the first secret? I said the button bar. Right. So on the right hand side, you have this master configuration. Right. So you click on master configuration, and now you have this option. So this is where you require to configure your master to achieve the intended result from these exceptional report. Okay. So you have this periodic payment and receipt. The moment you enter here, right, so you have all these ledgers which have been
Expense ledgers.
all the ledgers in Tally. Now you would want to filter. See, like it says 60 more, and then there are 29 ledgers here, right? So now you want to only mark expenses ledger. So again, button bar, right hand side, F4 group, press F4 and select you want only ledgers from indirect expenses. Now these are the ledgers which are forming part of indirect expenses, right? So you can just come down. This takes some conveyance ledger. Conveyance ledger. So you just mark this, right, and then you have to just update. Right. So now you will see here the conveyance ledger is now identified as your periodic ledger. So you just come back. Now you will see the conveyance ledger gets added to it, and now it gives you the amount, comparison from current year to the previous year, and the total number of vouchers for the period. The other, one more very interesting report is repeated transaction, right? So the moment you get into this particular report, you will now see all the ledgers, right? Whatever is the amount that has been repeated more than once, okay? It aggregates those information, and then it says for this particular, for example, let us say I have this ledger called staff welfare expenses, right? So it says 350 rupees has been repeated 5 times during the period. Now again, there could be a staff welfare ledger where 700 could have repeated another 6 times, right? So you will get this whole thing. Again, if you want to focus on a particular set or a group of account, again you press F4 and then you say indirect expenses, and here it is, it's going to give you the indirect expenses. Now you will see here, staff welfare here 350, staff welfare expenses here 260 rupees is repeating 3 times, 275 is repeating 3 times, right? So this is how basically you can filter the reporting, and these are pulled from the default database from Tally. Now we have a lot of other.
Now where do you think this could be useful? See, audit is all about finding exceptions and frauds, exceptions, okay, exceptions and red flags. Now there is a limit that, okay, we have to put this expense up to, we want to pay up to 10,000 rupees. Now many companies, they try to do the transactions at 9,000 rupees or 9,500 rupees like that. Where there is a limit, they try to keep it below the limit and do multiple transactions. So you will be able to figure out quickly what are the number of transactions which are repeated in nature. Not only that, you can also sort in ascending or descending order. For example, let's say you also extend this to, let's say, rent. Rent you know should be paid only 12 times in a year. Okay, so in that case, rent is fixed amount. So in that case, you sort it, okay, these are the number of transactions happened. And when you find rent is paid 30 times, there is a problem. So any expenditure which is general nature, where you're going to pay a fixed number of times, you can quickly get an idea about all these at one shot. Okay, how many number of times is occurred. And you can also find exception transactions. For example, one particular type of transaction happened so many times. Then you can probe further and see why the transactions happened so many times. It may be okay, or it might be showing an indicator that somebody is trying to manipulate.
So there are a lot of other features, right? So you can explore this. At least you have just seen how you navigate into it. It's going to be very, very interesting. 2 things please remember: the button bar on the right hand side and F12 configuration. wonders with this report. And these are all reports which have been created keeping in mind the statutory audit and the internal audit requirements. Okay.
So all these reports are okay.
Yes, sir.
And pending this, these reports are getting generated using Tally as the basis.
Okay.
Basis. Once I do the audit, analyze this data, I want these reports to be delivered outside the Tally for my audit documentation. After 2 years, when the query comes, I may not be the auditor of the same organization. I may be out of the organization. Okay. And how do you get all these reports in my audit file without going into the basic data of Tally? And client may not permit me to remove original Tally data and give it to my laptop. I have to audit the data, leave it to him, take out only the reports. That is how audit should be done. After 2 years, with these reports, how do I go back and verify? Otherwise, we have to deliver the data to my laptop in some format without disturbing the original data of the client. What is the arrangement for that?
So, ideally what will happen is that, once you have finalized the books of account, like sir had mentioned earlier that, our assumption is that you will have a backup of this finalized data with you.
No, auditor will not have backup data. Client will not permit.
No, I think
Once I come out of the audit, you will say.
Shivkumar, okay, let's just check it. How many of you have got the copy of the Tally data of your clients? Can you raise your hand? So you got the answer?
No, legally you are not supposed to have.
That's okay. Now the question is.
We have to talk legally.
No, that's a different thing. No, we are looking at as far as the software. Now, how many of you have the? I will not ask the question. How many of you have the digital signature of your clients?
Yes, that is often an issue.
That's okay. So what we need to look at in this particular context is, as per the Tally data is concerned, it's good that you're not getting the copy of the data. You can also extract these reports and then you can export this to Excel.
Yes.
You can export this to Excel and store it with you, keep it with you. It's possible.
Finally, you have to take certain
Screenshots
Excel.
also can.
Yeah. Screenshot. See, like for example, this particular report, right? You can export it into a PDF, and then you can store it. If that is the case, if client is not giving you the data, then
Not taken because that is how it should be done.
Okay. Right. So basically you can export it into PDF and you can have that information.
Okay, I just want to just highlight one particular thing which is there. See, if you can always look at, as auditors know, we always know, when we look at, we always look at exception. We always want to find what is not available. What I am asking you to do is look at what is already available there. Okay, there is a gold mine of information available. First, start looking at using that information. You can do wonders using that information. This particular information, Tally initially when it did, they not only had for statutory audit, they had for tax audit and various other audits. Because the response from the audit community was poor, I think they were, no, tax audit has not been extended. You find tax audit is not included now. We also actually use XBRL reports, everything. Because I think many of the CS are not aware and they are not looking at, they only look at, okay, what is possible, not possible. So you don't look at that, I think we need to look at what is possible and then start looking at what further things can be added. Okay, for example, let's say look at the audit documentation. Now, audit documentation has this particular information. How was it prepared? This information was prepared based on the interaction with the Tally had with hundreds of CAs, they went to officers, they did the information. Okay, this may not be the best practices. These are the generally used practices. This may not be 100% accurate or comprehensive. Look at what is available, use to the extent possible, which is possible, and then if you think the additional things, you can always give a recommendation. And more people say that we want this, then Tally I think will definitely be able to do that. Okay. Now audit analysis is already covered. Okay, so what I want to do is there is one important thing. Now there is something repeated, relative size factor. This is a very simple but very powerful tool. Relative size factor. Now if you look at this, you will be able to find out the exceptional transaction. What is relative size? Relative size, how is it computed? I tell you, then you will be able to know what is the difference. For example, I got the purchases. Okay, I want to find out purchases in terms of the difference between the highest and the second highest and the ratio between them. For example, I am making purchases of a particular product code, product, and the general price is around 1,000 rupees. Okay, the highest price for that is, let's say, 1,005 rupees. But in that account, I find something has been purchased for 10,000 rupees. So how is that the relative size factor computed? The highest is 10,000, Second highest is 1500. So 10,000 divided by 1500 will give you a relative size factor of 6.6. So immediately you know there is a big exception, it can't be. Okay, there can be variance of let us say 10%, 20% like that. So you'll be able to find out this exceptional items at one shot. Okay, you look at expenses, you find relative size factor gone up, you can pick up that information. So this is a very, very useful information you can get at one shot. And then I'll come to that, let me close in 5 minutes. Then we have this order, something called Audit Journals. This is also another important factor which I want Pugal to explain, then I'll clarify. You can speak from there only.
See, this audit journal is one.
This solves a lot of practical problems, especially for auditors.
See, the audit journal is one where when we are conducting the audit, generally we don't meddle with the client's data, right? So we pass those finalization entries and all those things. And the experience is that you pass all those audit journals and then give those information, give those detail to the accountant and tell him that you pass this entry. Majority of the time, the accountant is so busy that he is not going to go and pass those entries. Next audit period when you come, again there is going to be a difference in the opening and closing balance, right? So what we thought is that, and many CAs were saying, see, this is the biggest problem. Then every time there is a difference between the opening and the closing balance. So we need, can you people do something so that I am sure that technology allows this person to go and update the entry without even going and manually entering the entry. So what we have done here is that whatever entry that you are passing through audit journal, you go to the audit journal, the report, and export it in XML format. Once you export it in XML format, you now send this file to the relevant person of your client or the client owner, and all you need to tell him is that just import this file into Tally. Now, when you are finalizing, generally what happens, there will be some ledgers that you create, like rounding off ledgers or various ledgers, the miscellaneous expenses, which probably the client would have not created it. Right? So all those new ledgers that you have created while finalizing the audit, when you are exporting and then giving it to the client and asking him to import it into the data, the relevant masters also get created and the transaction gets updated such that now the closing balance of that particular year, whatever you have the closing balance is going to now match with the closing balance of the client. This is a case where you have the data of the client and where you are now passing this entry.
Okay. I had asked chairman to requested chairman to extend for 10-15 minutes. So is it okay we go up to 8:15? Okay. So I'll just take. We have another 6 to 8 minutes. Now the important thing in this case, most of the cases you see, I have seen based on my experience, my interaction with my friends, you have passed certain entries. And then you go to the company, then you find they are not passed a particular journal entry, especially finalization entries. Okay. So with this feature, what will happen? You don't need to worry. You just read the audit journals, based on that you can update them at one shot. Let's close this particular thing. So there are some specific examples I told you. If you look at the particular audit feature we showed you, this is something which can be used for statutory audit. In fact, that's itself called as statutory audit. If you look at the audit compliance, now if you look at this audit and compliance, audit and compliance, now if you look at heading, what does it say? Statutory audit. Okay. I believe you also had for tax audit. It's also possible there is a separate section for VAT audit. I mean we can't cover that, but there is a separate section where you can do what is called what you do for VAT audit. It can be probably one session itself on VAT audit, how you can do VAT audit directly to Tally. Many cases I found, most of the cases CS do audit of VAT. They export to Excel and there is a lot of circuits to be able to come to that. Where a lot of features are inbuilt there through which you can actually generate a lot of information which is for VAT audit. Okay, so what is our primary objective? Let's come back to this thing. You can also use for VAT audit. Similarly, tax audit requires certain information. Earlier in Tally it was there, whereby you can generate even the tax audit information. Now I think it is been removed, maybe in future it may come back again. But once you know what is required, most of the information you want, you can extract directly from Tally itself. I just want to show you one example. For example, I have this, this is what I want to show you. You remember we talked about exporting the daybook display? Daybook. I have got these transactions. I go to the period. I got this complete information. Now what I want to do is I want to pick up transactions based on a particular range. Let's say I pick up the voucher type. I'll say change voucher type. What is the voucher type? Payments. These are all the payments which are there. I want to pick up all transactions which are above 20,000 rupees. Okay, and that to cash. Is that possible? We'll just show.
So these are the payment vouchers. One is from the daybook, we have filtered the voucher type of payment. So now there are two conditions. One is that all cash payment exceeding 20,000 is what you need to know, actually extract from this data set, right? So can we do this? Yes. Again, the button bar, you have this option called range, right? So you click on the range and you say voucher having ledger amounts greater than 20,000 and voucher having ledger name containing equal to whatever, okay, containing, right, cash. There it is. See, there could be bank payment also. So we have eliminated all the bank payments in the data set. Now if you want to make sure that whether Tally is pulled out only those cash payments exceeding 20,000 rupees, Alt F1 is now, if you see, this is going to, okay, so you will see all those credit ledgers are all cash ledgers.
Now this example we gave you was only one particular tax order. You can use it for anything. For example, you want to pick up sales transactions above a particular amount, expenditure above a particular, anything you want to filter and extract information from Tally. Using this you can extract that information. Okay, let me quickly summarize in 3 minutes. Okay. So you can also use it for intermodal. Any CAT software, if you see, there are some key features which are there. These are the 18 key features which are there in any audit software. Now currently we don't have time to show this, but I just want to show you, for example, you want to do aging, you want to do analytical tools, there's something called Benford law. You have Benford law in Tally?
Yeah, we have Benford law.
So I just wanted to explore this, probably this could be homework for you to go and explore whether Benford law is possible. Duplicates, you can identify duplicates.
Duplicates also.
What we saw, repeated transaction is nothing but duplicates. Export, you can export data based on what you want. Extract information. Find relevant information based on what you want. Classify is nothing but the posting. Summarize ledger which you are getting is nothing but classified. Gaps. Identify gaps, nuances. Variation. Okay. So like that, there are various types of features which are available in data analytics software, which can also be applied in Tally as required. It's not that 100% available, but what is available, you can definitely use it. This is the last point which we talked about, is something has about the service commerce. Now this is a news item which I extracted long back, a few months back, which says clear tax raises $2 billion from investors. Now what does clear tax do? This is the online filing of tax returns. Okay, and many of the salaried employees surprisingly account they're going for this particular thing. Similarly, there are also online companies. You want to do company registration, they're still not doing that. Do you know the reasons? Other than that, you want to do company registration, various other registrations, they're doing it online. I recently came across a friend, he says, no, I have started a company, I asked him, do you need CA? He said, no, I have done it online. He said, how did you get that? He said, I applied online, I gave all the information. So they have particular fixed fees. Okay, 15,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees for 2 big number with all this. You give all the documentation online, and then based on that, he says, they promise that everything you get within a particular time, and you're able to get that. So not only company registration, there are a lot of hundreds of registrations you get. So the major things if you look at from the CAS, what is this registrations? Most of the registrations can be done online. You don't need to go to CA or this one. But there is a tax planning which is there which cannot be done by them, or business planning or financial planning. Similarly, filing, for most of the filing it can be done. So if you have to remain relevant and see that we cater to clients, it's important that we need to provide validation. And that's where we need to ask, at least one forte which is there, which we also can do is about this assurance. And I think it's important that we don't rely only on the assurance, which is the chapa type, where you just file and get this one. It's important that we need to create validation. And if we can navigate through the technology and identify and play around with information, you can definitely bring in a lot of validation. And this is the last message I wanted to show, that you need to innovate, or in the near future, how near it is, we don't know, you could become irrelevant, or you can also say redundant. So the key message which I want to convey through this particular presentation, I want to show one presentation before I go close. There are also ready-made software which are available. For example, this one particular tool which you have developed. So let's say I want to show you this interface. I told you you can integrate tool to Tally. Now for example, I have this information from Tally which I want to export. See all the configuration details from the Tally, what is the password policy which has been set. I can directly use it, directly import it from this particular software. See, I also get the company features which have been enabled. Without even going to Tally, I can get this at one shot. Then I also have company information. Similarly, I have something called statutory info. So this will incorporate or import all the data which is available in Tally and give to you. So this becomes a part of the audit documentation. This answers the question which Shikumar was asking. No, I have done the audit, I want to write in documentation. This becomes a part of your audit documentation. And how do I do it? Single click. I just open that company and get that information. Not only that, I also have many reports. For example, let's say I got something called master info. Now this tells me these are the type of information which is relevant from the audit point of view. Okay. So I say select all, and then I say okay. Now you see all this information pertaining to the configuration, all the key things. I got this information as one shot and I got it in Excel. Now you see here, payroll, employees, excise details. Like that you got probably about 20 types of reports, stock reports, ledger reports, everything you can get. Not only that, you also have some information where you want to import data pertaining to, let's say, daybook or ledger with closing balance. Like that, there are a lot of information which can be extracted directly from Tally. This is where we said there are add-on tools which are available, where you can pick information from Tally and use it for the purpose of analysis.
This is not really beyond Tally.
This is what I said, you can go beyond Tally. Now once you get the information into Excel, then most of you know you are already experts in Excel, you can play around with Excel. And it also becomes a part of your documented feature. So the primary message when we started was, at the end of the session, at least you should know that you should know at least 6 to 8 features from Tally or about assurance. So I just want the confirmation from you, were you able to get that? Yes. So 6 to 8 features? Okay. So another important message which I said was that you should be able to provide better assurance with greater assurance. Which means what? The client should be happy that yes, I have paid the fees, he has provided me value, and then you should be able to sleep peacefully, yes, tomorrow something happens also, I know I have done my job. That's what is greater assurance. And especially in a digital environment where the data is available digitally, you need to ensure that you need to use automated tools. And most of the cases you need to know what to select and what to click. But everything requires practice. Like one musician was asked, what is the secret? Why does he practice so rigorously? He said, see, if I don't practice for one day, the musicians around me know it. If I don't practice for one day, I know it. If I don't practice for 2 days, the musicians around me know it. If I don't practice for 3 days, the audience knows it. So what's required in technology is that technology will keep on changing, keep on updating. What's important is we need to invest in time, just like for income tax and other things, to spend some time. In technology also, because technology has embedded all the controls inside. So you need to spend some time in understanding how technology works. And that is the message we wanted to convey to you. Okay, so I think we don't have time for questions. What I think we can also do, that's what I suggested to Chairman Papadana, we can also plan to do a hands-on workshop of one day, where we cover all the features of Tally and also data analytics. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope that you could use. So if you want to write to me or to Pugal, you can always get back to us on email.
We have come to an end of interesting session where they made us to know how to use Tally beyond accounting, to use the Tally as assurance. We day to day we use the Tally, but tend to miss out lot of things what we can use in our audit also. They enlightened us on this topic. Thank you, sir. I thank on Bangalore branch of ICAI to both the speakers. May I request CA Deepak Daga to present a momentous speaker as a token of appreciation and respect. Thank you, Deepak. I have a small couple of announcements. We have organized impact study on sector-wise impact study on GST on 15th of October in the institute. I request members to register for that. And we also organized a refresher course for accountants, 6th batch. It's a 5 days refresher course. Please pass on to your clients' accountants so that they can use this. With this small announcement, I will thank you all. Bye.